everybody? So we're back talking some more Invincible Season 3 on the channel, Episode 4. Those first 3 episodes last week, they were pretty awesome. I can't deny that. But Episode 4, continues that upward momentum, giving us a very exciting mission for Mark to go on that also is kind of depressing. Although, I do feel like the part here of the story this week between Alan and Nolan kind of steals the show out of everything that we see this week. After Mark found this device spying on him, my gears really did start to turn on who exactly could this be. Could they be a Viltrumite of some kind? By now, we've seen a handful of different instances where there was multiverses involved, so could it be somebody from the multiverse? Lots of different theories were running around in my head when he brings it to the Guardians. I wasn't exactly shocked when Mark decides it was probably Cecil and goes and storms the Pentagon and obliterates more of these cyborgs. I thought it was pretty funny though that in a way Cecil only kind of told Mark a half-truth because he, like it seems like many people in this series, is spying on Mark. It's just not with this device. Maybe I was just overly hopeful. I figured maybe certain things would change a whole lot more now that Amber's not in the picture romantically with Mark. I figured maybe with Mark and Eve together, they could actually have some dates without people interrupting them. Sadly, I was wrong, because right when they sit down to have their date, Dropkick and Fightmaster show up again, begging Mark for help, believing that Mark is the only one that's strong enough to take out their king. You've really got to feel for Mark, even though he straight up tells these two no, that he doesn't want to do this, he's not interested, he gets forced into doing it anyway. From their brief appearance that we saw earlier this season, I was not expecting this type of backstory from these two. When they managed to escape, I figured eventually they would pop back up. I didn't think they would immediately pop back up again. Or the fact that these two characters are from the future, searching for different methods to try and overthrow this mysterious, powerful ruler of Earth. Once these two start explaining the lore to Mark about this ruler of Earth who has ruled for hundreds of years and gone mad, I assume based on the longevity and how strong this character is apparently, it was going to end up being a Viltrumite or immortal. More so immortal because they have these different vignettes that explains the story that Dropkick and Fightmaster are giving. It looks like immortal. And lo and behold, this ruler for hundreds of years in this futuristic Earth is immortal. Mark left him here to rule. One of the plethora of various things I enjoy so much about Invincible is how this show has always managed to bring fresh and interesting perspectives on what it means to be a hero. And that's no different here with Immortal and how his powers to this point are far more of a burden. In his disheveled and distraught state, begging Mark to kill him and end his suffering. After describing he's had hundreds of different wives, basically because he's lived for so long, anyone he's ever loved has died. And that is such a depressing perspective to put on some of these heroes that have super long lifespans. We've seen Nolan talk about it before with Mark. That pain and suffering behind Immortal in these sequences adds so many sad layers over him forcing a fight between him and Mark after Mark just straight up declines to kill him. More often than not, fights in this show are pretty exciting, but this one between these two characters just has a sad overarching feeling to it, especially when inevitably Immortal gets his wish with Mark brutally ripping his head off. Much like us as the audience, it is a morally conflicting thing for Mark. Sure, he did help these people become free, but he did have to kill Immortal to do it, so there's that doubt if he's doing the right thing while he's venting all of his feelings about this to Eve. Something that I do quite like a lot more about Mark being with Eve as opposed to Amber is the fact that Amber does understand a lot of the feelings, the inner workings of being a hero and those emotions that come with it, and all the different struggles that comes with these powers. So she's far better equipped to comfort him, and they're such a great couple. In superhero comic book media, we have so many different iconic couples, and so far, at least from this little bit that we've seen of Mark and Eve together, whether it be this episode or the last one, I think they're one of my favorites, at least for now. I mean, we'll see how the future goes. The funny thing is, especially when they flashed the credits, I really thought the episode was ending, and then I looked at the timestamp and we still had a good 15-20 minutes left, so I was wondering, what exactly is that all about? I thought maybe it was an error. What we got, though, I was not complaining about because I do quite like the Alan and Omni-Man story. I think it's pretty wild that while he's been in prison this whole time, they keep trying to kill Alan over and over again, but they keep failing. It's understandable because Nolan is such a stubborn character and he is kind of trying his best to figure out his emotions. I really wish that Nolan wasn't so stubborn about trying to join the good guys. Instead, he would rather get beaten to a bloody pulp by the Viltrumites that come to collect him. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Nolan doesn't deserve this type of punishment, but, I would not want to get beat up like this. Because I am approaching Invincible with this series and I haven't read the comic books, I do think it is funny. Almost every single time we've seen a Viltrumite to this point, they always have a pretty cool mustache, and that is no different here. This entire portion of episode 4, the prison break sequence, is my favorite part. There are some pretty fun parallels here. This sequence with Alan releasing all these different prisoners in here reminded me a lot of the sequence in Cabin in the Woods where they release all the different killers and they just destroy everybody. When they showed Alan looking at this giant oversized cell that was probably imprisoning someone very powerful, that did get me very excited on who exactly could be behind this giant cell. So to my delight, I was hyped to realize that Battle Beast was inside of there. We haven't seen him in this show in forever. I think since season 1 when he just destroyed Mark and then we just never saw him ever again. We've only had little tidbits of Battle Beast, but so far he is becoming one of my favorite characters that I hope we see more of, just because he is just so vicious and bloodthirsty, wanting to kill Viltrumites, and pretty much strictly Viltrumites, even if he tears through some other people to get to them. The only reason he is cooperating with Alan in his mission here to save Nolan is because he gets to kill some Viltrumites at the end, or at least try to. What an epic conclusion to all of this, seeing Alan fighting these Viltrumites, then Nolan breaking free, finally deciding to work together with Alan and fight these people in space. Sequences like this are what gets me the most excited about Invincible. Even with the intense brutality, we've seen some pretty nasty visuals, blood, guts, and gore in this show. Even for Invincible, I was horrified watching this double punch that Alan and Nolan do to this guy, where his head kind of just explodes like a gusher getting punched from both sides. Also, periodically during this, I thought it was hilarious that Battle Beast is just drifting through space and mauling this Viltrumite to death. Who knows necessarily when we'll see Battle Beast again as he's floating through space mauling this guy. If I'm these guys, I might want to try and convince him to be on their side, considering he is destroying this Viltrumite in a 1v1 battle. This final moment though with Alan and Nolan is what has me excited for the potential future of this show, with Nolan finally making that shift to join the fight against the Viltrumites, believing that they can actually beat them. It definitely feels like to me this is step 1 on Nolan having a type of redemption arc for everything he's done up to this point. I don't know necessarily what that's going to entail for how everyone else feels about it, considering Nolan did kind of leave things in a bad place for most of humanity. It's probably going to take a whole lot of work to kind of atone for all of the sins he's done to this point. Nevertheless, I am intrigued on if he can actually have a redemption arc that feels satisfying. Let me know down below though, once you get a chance to check out episode 4 of season 3 of Invincible. What'd you think of the episode? Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? Show your thoughts down below, because the fun's that conversation with you guys in the comments section. Thank you guys, as always, checking out videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure to like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.